Welcome. This is our first actual presentation in the community room outside of the when we had the health fair as far as the grand opening. So welcome if you haven't been in here before. And I am Laurel Sterling Prisco, the dietitian, and I have services here where I consult for free on a whole variety of different topics. You just sign up at the desk out there if you're interested, and it's not just a one-time service, it's an unending service. And on your seats here, they put on there different teas and my card, as well as the juice bar menu. And so it just gives you a variety of different things to let you know that what we have as far as offerings, as well as the Enhanced Beauty, the salon that we have over there, which is a new service. They're both the new services of the store. How many is your first time here to the store? Nobody? Oh, okay. How about first time dealing with me? Because I know I some familiar places. Okay. Okay. How many of you have detoxified before? A few. Okay. Okay. So how many of you think you know quite a bit about detoxification? I know there's some, but okay. All right, so I'm going to go through a variety of different things. Up here I have pulled some different items that we have out there. This isn't all of them, obviously, but there are, like I said, a good variety of them. And I'm going to be going through them as I go through the slides. I'll be referring to different ones. And I like to keep this informal, so ask questions throughout. You don't have to hold it till the end, because especially if there's something that you can't remember from a certain slide, please ask me as we're going along. And if you have anything that you want to add to it, because some people enrich me with all of their knowledge, and so you could, if you've had a certain experience or used one of these products and said that you liked it, didn't like it, and so just give me your feedback. All right, so I'm going to start here. What is a toxin? These are substances that have the potential to cause harm. They actually interfere with the function and structure, and they actually are not easily excreted throughout the system, but they have to be excreted or else they're stored. And I'm going to get more into that as far as the storage and why we want to be able to try to get these out of our systems. So why do we want to cleanse? The liver, lungs, kidneys, lymph, blood, and GI, that's the gastrointestinal tract, and skin all work together to eliminate toxins. The majority of the one that eliminates the toxins is the liver and the gallbladder. But we also have a significant amount done through the kidneys, the lymph, the blood, and the skin as well. So in the pristine world, which do you think we live in this pristine world anymore? They can't find any place in this world that actually doesn't have some toxin that's settled on the mountaintops or on the ocean. They're finding, I think it's DDT, they actually found it settled on ocean floors that was not used in, what, over 30 or 40 years or so. So they're ubiquitous, unfortunately, and they're finding that infants are now born with over 200 chemicals in their body. Even if the woman eats organic and has just been as pure as possible, it's still what's stored in our system. And whatever we get that's put on our skin, 70% of that is absorbed into our system, and the body has to learn how to deal with it and detoxify it. So this sheer volume that we're being bombarded with all the time overwhelms these organs, so we have to try to help them eliminate more efficiently. As I said, toxins are everywhere in our food, air, water, and most of them fall into one of 4 categories. There's the heavy metals, liver, microbial, and metabolic, and I'll be going through these individually. So, heavy metal toxins, they include things like lead, mercury, cadmium, arsenic, nickel, aluminum, and we get these through industrial contamination, we get them through runoffs, we get them through lead from pesticide sprays, cooking utensils, older homes. They say it's not too bad if the lead is sealed in with the paint, but if, say, for instance, it's on the windows that are being constantly moved up and down, and they're the old windows that are painted, that dust is what gets into the air and then creates an issue. Cadmium and lead from cigarette smoke, amongst a whole host of other chemicals in cigarettes nowadays. Mercury from dental fillings, contaminated fish and cosmetics, and aluminum from antacids and cookware. And cosmetics have a lot of other things in them as well that you really want to be careful of. Again, 70% of what you put on your skin is absorbed into your system. So that's all the lipsticks and the mascara, not really the mascara that much, but more of the blushes and the foundations and all that as well. Liver toxins. These are compounds that have to be neutralized by the liver. They include things like alcohol, chemicals, drugs, solvents, formaldehyde, which you would find a lot of these different chemicals in. I went to a seminar in New York City. It was all about detoxification, and this guy specializes in that, and he lives down in, where is it? Arizona. And he said, there's hardly any place around here that doesn't have toxins. He said, look at the amount of golf courses with the pesticides and the sprays that are put on there. And he said also the highways and byways that are everywhere. You're being exposed constantly to all these different chemicals. And so he went into the areas that you can look at. There's a website that I can't remember at the moment, but I looked it up, and I have it on file if anyone's interested. But it's actually where you can look at the dry cleaning fluid that actually is excreted into the groundwater, and you can look up how high it is in your area and all these different things that are in the waters and in the air. And there's higher concentrations in certain areas. So you can look that up by county where you live. And so the formaldehyde, and you don't think about what's in as the carpet, newer carpets. You think that's a great thing to get in newer carpets, but all the chemicals that are on the carpet. There's the glues that are used. I remember one time when at the old facility when we had the community room, my office was in the community room, and they were putting up a dry erase board. And I remember these gentlemen were putting it up like there was no problem whatsoever, and the glues were horrific. I had a horrible headache, and I had windows open all day long, and these guys were acting like there was no problem whatsoever. Just like people that deal with solvents and paints. And I've had women clients in that have, one woman in particular, and I can't equate this specifically to her MS, but she drank a lot of diet sodas, as well as she worked for a company where she was constantly over dealing with chemicals. So even though she had a vent over her, still she was directly getting those chemicals all day long. And so she was presenting with MS, and there was a whole host of other things going on with her. But these definitely all are constant burdens on the body, and they build up, and it gets to a point where whether your body can take it or not. And they're, as I said, all around you that we don't think about. Painting, when we're painting, there's no or low VOC, which is volatile oil compounds in paints. There's all different things now that you can do, but prior to that, if you've already put these things in, you're going to get it. As one gentleman, for instance, he got a new bed, and he was having all these issues after he got the new bed, and he thought it was maybe the chemicals in the mattress. It was a Tempur-Pedic, and he said his father-in-law was so nice to put a board, and I can't remember what kind of board, it must have been a press board or something like that, with all the chemicals in there. He said finally when he took that press board out was when all of his symptoms started to subside, but he was having a tremendous amount of issues that were mimicking MS-like issues. Nerve damage and brain damage, he couldn't focus, and he was having a lot of problems. So you don't realize how it is so much around us in our everyday products, but it is. In the pesticides and herbicides, if you do that on your lawns, or if you're around an area, like I said, golf courses and whatnot, where they do use a lot of that. Food additives is another thing. So just to give you an idea, and these are not the latest reports either. This was a 1998 EPA report. There are 85,000 different chemicals produced in the U.S., with at least 3,000 new ones introduced each year. In 1999 to 2000, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention tested approximately 2,500 people, and they actually were looking at 116 chemicals. And every person in the study regardless of age, location, or lifestyle, tested positive for the environmental toxins. Even chemicals, like I had said before, such as the PCBs, still ubiquitous in the environment. Since World War II, between 75,000 to 80,000 new synthetic chemicals have been released in the environment, and less than half them have been tested for potential toxicity to the adult humans. Over 4 billion pounds of pesticides are used annually, and this amounts to 8 pounds for every man, woman, and child. And current law allows 350 different pesticides to be used on the food we eat. The average home contains 3 to 10 gallons of hazardous materials, if that is something that you use. That would include things like paints and solvents and whatnot. If you changed over to the products like the Ecos or the, what are some of the other ones? I use Ecos and, yeah, the ones that don't have a lot of the chemicals, a lot of the ones that we have out there, then obviously that number is going to decrease. But where some go low, some go much higher. Just like the amount of sugar that they say per person, it's an average. Some don't consume that, some are way above, same as the red meat issues. So petrochemicals, these are everywhere. They're in our air, food, and water. Machines are run on petrochemicals. Millions of products, included plastics, microchips, medicines, clothing, food, soaps, pesticides, even perfumes, are made either from petrochemicals or contain them. And these are known estrogen disruptors, okay? And to avoid some of these products that I've been talking about, definitely try to have organic meats and dairy, organic fruits and vegetables. You can even do organic gardening, buy environmentally safe products. Now they have the BPA-free products with the plastics. Plastics actually leach actually fat. If you store things like meat sauces and whatnot, the fats leach the plastic into the foods, and so you want to have the containers like Pyrex containers or the BPA-free containers. The plastic number 7 is more of the one that you want to look at because it's the harder plastics, and that's better for storage as well. Do not routinely drink hot beverages from plastic cups or microwave in plastic containers. Hopefully you're not microwaving much at all, because what it does to the chemical structure of foods, they actually took a broccoli and found all the anti-cancer and all these wonderful properties to help with the liver in the actual broccoli, and once they put it in the microwave and took it back out, they found that it contained carcinogenic properties after it was microwaved. So microwaving, not one of the better things to do. I know sometimes it has to be done. Sometimes if I forget my salads and I have to grab something, or for quick heating, that's one thing. But I actually, probably about 13 or more years ago, I put the microwave in the basement, and I just use a convection oven, and you heat up on the stove, and you just go back to the way that we used to do it, which is healthier. So where do these toxins go? I sort of alluded to that earlier. These toxins are stored in our fat cells. They're lipophilic toxins throughout our body where they accumulate. Studies indicate that most of us have between 400 and 800 chemical residues stored in the fat cells in our body. And what do these do? They have a lot of disruptions in the body, in the immune system. Enzymes are dysfunction, nutritional deficiencies, hormonal imbalances, damage to brain chemistry, and other chronic diseases. So, a lot of disturbing changes that they've noted over the years relating to chemicals. In 1947, ornithologists noticed that eagles in Florida had lost their drive to mate and nest. In 1977, female gulls in California were nesting with females. In Florida, in 1980, they found there was a toxic spill of a pesticide that was similar to DDT. 5 years later, it was discovered that 90% of the alligators had disappeared. Most of those were incapable of reproducing or had no urge to mate. Males were born with deformed penises and that were 75% shorter, and their testosterone was so low they hormonally resembled females. Reports showed that strange hermaphroditic fish were caught in Australia. This was a German study relating to the xenoestrogens, which are, they're chemicals that come from paint fumes and from petroleum-based products and come from the pesticides and insecticides. They look and act just like estrogen. So they will get to the receptor sites of all the estrogen sites and get in there and start disrupting the flow. So with this, study showed that endometriosis had significantly higher levels, those with women with endometriosis had significantly higher levels of chemicals known as PCBs in their bodies. 70 years ago, 21 cases had been reported. Now there's over 5 million. I'm one of those. I have endometriosis. So I did a significant change for myself as far as what I was using in the household, and that was also when I started working here. So it was part of my journey on how I got here. But yes. Endometriosis? Actually, some women don't even have symptoms. It can range from mild to very severe. What I had, it depends on where it is in the body, too. It can attach on the intestines. It can travel. They're now considering it sort of an autoimmune, which autoimmune can either lay dormant or things that can disrupt it, like stressors and chemicals and whatnot, can just make it come to the surface and express itself. So where mine was on the broad ligament, and it felt like, you know, the poker sticks for a fire when you put in there and move the wood around. It felt like someone had one of those and they were just jabbing it right in my side. It was like a searing pain all the time that I just couldn't relieve without pushing on it. That counter pressure actually felt better. Some have painful, really heavy periods. Some do not. Some, like I said, didn't even know they had it, and they found out later on through some screening that they had it. But you have to actually go in with a laparoscope. They can't see it in a sonogram at all, so they have to actually go in to determine if that's the problem or not. Like I said, it'll vary for women, but some have it very severe, where I knew one woman that used to work here at our old store had to have bowels resection because it had damaged it so much, and she was very sick, but thankfully she got through it. I had to go get the laparoscopy, where they had to go in and check it out and said, oh, yep, you have it. It's very mild. And I said, mild? What is severe? Because this is horrific, you know, the pain. And actually, once I had the surgery, I really didn't feel much better. It was once I started taking certain things through here, changing my foods around, changing, like I said, my environment as far as the chemical exposure in the house, not using bleached tampons or pads, because those have the bleaching creates dioxins that are known estrogen disruptors. You're putting that right there, and it's just into the body. So there's a lot of things that I cut out, and especially when I start taking some certain supplements, that things really rectify itself. Acupuncture, a lot of help. So as I was talking about xenoestrogens, they're in spermicides, diaphragm jellies, on condoms, and vaginal gels, and that, as I said, directly exposes it to the cervix and vagina. Microbial toxins, it's produced by bacteria and yeast in the gut, so we have yeast that travels and lives normally in the whole mucosal lining, starting in the sinuses all the way through the GI and down. And we hope that that's in check with the other good bacteria. We have about 80% beneficial bacteria, 20% non, and some fungals that lay in there. And hopefully at that ratio, things are kept nice and in check. But if you take anything like antibiotics that wipe out the good and the bad, and you don't have probiotics in place right thereafter, if you have a lot of stressors, if you're taking on a regular basis some steroids, those all kill off the good bacteria. So it allows those yeasts that are usually kept in check to start growing, and that starts causing a whole host of other things, which I'll talk about when I get to the slides dealing with candida and some other disruptions. Metabolic toxins, these are created daily. Anything that we eat, put into our mouth, has to be broken down and processed. So from proteins, ammonia results from the body's breakdown of the proteins. So different signs of toxicity. Again, this can vary. They can include fatigue, headaches, poor concentration, depression, muscle and joint pain, skin irritations, poor complexion, sluggish immune function, even weight gain. Other signs include allergies, autoimmune conditions, and reproductive disorders. Those with a toxin overload, typically I see a lot of people that comment on the fact that they have environmental sensitivities. They can't be around those. They have a lot of perfumes on or other smells, really, really bother them a lot. And overreactions to medications. If you react to a certain medication or even B vitamins, that means that your liver, which I'll show you in a little bit, and how it's supposed to be balanced with its detoxification process, that if you're not handling those appropriately, that's because there's an imbalance. So, don't you want to feel like this? You know, live every day to the fullest, feel great, have lots of energy, no pain, aging gracefully and healthfully. My grandmother is 89 years old, and she has her horses, and she goes out and feeds them every day, and I see her lugging stuff around, and I come from a long line of, on both sides of my family, as farmers, you know, on back. So they had one great-grandfather was 99, a great-grandmother was 100, and the other was 94. So I think it's the good, clean living. Back then, they didn't have all those toxins as farmers. Now, unfortunately, I still live in that beautiful land, but across the road I have soybeans or corn, which now they have instead of the spraying, which, yay, they don't have so much spraying, but then they use what kind of corn? GMO, Monsanto, genetically modified with the in there. So, you know, what's good, what's not good. So, is detoxification necessary? Do you think so? Yes. So this refers to the metabolic pathways which the cells transform toxic substances coming in, like I said, whether you breathe it in, you put it on your skin, you eat it, your body makes it from the food you're eating, into relatively inert metabolites that can be excreted either through the kidneys to the urine, which are water-soluble toxins, or the fat-soluble, which most of them we are dealing with are. Those are the ones that are the problems. That goes with the bile, gallbladder, liver, and out. So, this is done in a two-step process called Phase 1, Phase 2, or it is called, I forget what the first Phase 1 has another name, but Phase 2 is the conjugation. So Phase 1 is the metabolism or the breaking down catabolism of the product, and then Phase 2 is attaching something to that. And like I said, most of it's done in the liver, 25% of it in the small intestines, and also skin. So this is how it works, okay? The liver is working on a constant. Filters 2 quarts of blood every minute, okay? Toxins coming in, like I said, from wherever it's coming in. Phase 1 enzymes act upon it to try to break it down. So actually, in essence, it creates more of a harmful component. That intermediate component is actually more harmful. It's starting to break it down. Phase 2, what it does is it attaches different methyls or different other things to try to make it more fat soluble, to excrete out of the body and render it harmless to get it out. And these are some of the things that you need in your diet, supplements, whatnot, to help with the Phase 1, Phase 2. Okay, so Phase 1, very dependent on your vitamin Bs, as you can see over there, riboflavin, niacin, B6, folic acid, B12. Glutathione is a very powerful antioxidant. Your body actually makes it, but you can take it in supplemental form, but your body does make it. Branched-chain amino acids, so that's proteins. Flavonoids, that is from your antioxidants, your fruits and vegetables. Phospholipids, things like lecithin, eggs, whatnot. Yes. What are they? I mean, what kind of foods do they come in? Yeah, they actually do. And honestly, I learned that back about 10 years ago, so I don't know the specifics of the branch chain ones. No. But actually, if you get a complete protein, which is different things like your eggs and certain protein drinks and your meats and whatnot, you're going to be getting all the necessary ones. So that's why protein is very important. Depending on what source you're getting the protein from, again, it should be organic, free range, not a lot of it from the red meats, getting it from a variety of different sources. Like you can get it from the white meats, turkey, you can get it from chicken, fish, eggs I already mentioned. There's your beans, your nuts, your seeds, the fermented soy, especially if it's got to be a non-GMO organic one if you want to go with the fermented soy. So you need those. Phase 2, highly dependent on ATP, which is energy production. Glutathione, again, a lot of your amino acids from protein, glycine, taurine, glutamine, ornithine, arginine. Methyl donors, so this is when you're reading MSM is methylsulfonyl methane. When you're taking a B12, it's a methylcobalamin, that's giving you a methyl in there. N-acetylcysteine, that's NAC, that's very important for the conjugation. Cysteine, methionine. Okay, so basically you want to make sure that this phase 1, phase 2 is acting appropriately. Now, we don't have people locally that do this test, but I have seen this tested before where they can check to see if there's something going on. Like with some case studies I've seen with multiple chemical sensitivities, and one woman, she was perfectly fine, and she was working in a school, and they had done the school over, all knew this, that, and the other thing. Within a few years, progressively, her health just went down. But prior to this, I mean, she was a young 23-year-old, just out of college, working and perfectly fine, and then her health went down. And there was this functional medicine doctor that was looking at her, and he tested her phase 1, phase 2, her conjugation, glutathione, all sorts of stuff, and he found that things were off. So he prescribed certain things to help with that. Now, again, we don't have anyone local that I know of that would do that. I could possibly find out who, but I haven't seen anyone yet that does testing for that. But if you overreact to drinking coffee, such as myself, if you take it and you just instantly feel like everything inside is jittering just off of one cup, that means that your phase 1, phase 2 is off. Basically, phase 1 is revving too high, and phase 2 is lagging too low. So there's too many of those intermediate that are produced that your body can't take because it's like, oh my gosh, this is coming too fast, and this is slagging too slow. So it's bombarding the body, and it can't process it out appropriately. Same thing with like I said, overreaction to medication. That's the same thing. Some overreaction to B vitamins. It's kind of like the same thing, where phase 1 is upregulated too high and phase 2 is too low. Yes? Bees are supposed to be very helpful in, it energizes, yet it calms and helps with the nerves, but if it makes you like that, like a coffee reaction, yeah, right after, or, well, for me, I've had it happen a few times with coffee, where one time I was in New York City at a conference, and I like those Bolt drinks, but I don't usually drink them, but it was a mochaccino something. So I had it with lunch, and I thought, oh, with lunch it'll be okay. But by the time I was at 5 o'clock, the end of the conference, it was one of those where at the end they were ending it with some meditation, something or other. So I'm sitting here like, yeah, this is good. And all of a sudden I'm like, what's going on? Why do my insides feel like I want to jump outside? So it was about 5 hours later that it hit me. So not everybody metabolizes the same. I personally have a very slow digestion, so things tend to hit me not right away. It's all of a sudden I'm sitting there going, what was that? Why am I now feeling that? But some people feel it right away. So everybody's going to be a little bit different. So you just have to kind of be aware of it. Like I said, I didn't notice it the first time that I had some. When I was at my favorite restaurant, I had another mochaccino drink because I loved the chocolate and the coffee combination, and I thought, oh, that must have been a fluky thing. Well, then I had this again, and I said, that's it. I just can't get away with it. So Again, you can test these things, but typically not around here. So if you know that you have some of those reactions, then probably this is the issue. There are things, yes. Yes. And where do you find out about that? Direct. Oh, so they're going to be able to test these? Oh. Yeah. Wow. Wow, excellent. Thank you. Yeah. The thing about New York is these testing, yes, there's problems with all these yeah, for a lot of this stuff.
So if a friend of mine has some problems with Virginia, if she wanted to be tested, what exactly do you ask for?
So it would be the phase 1, phase 2 detox. Yep. There's a lot of different names. Like I said, there's conjugation, something else. They put different names to it, but they would know if you said phase 1, phase 2 detox. There is actually a gentleman that I know of down in, I think he's in North Carolina, and he's a chiropractor, and he does a lot of functional medicine, and he does these tests himself. But again, I haven't found anyone local. I did find someone local that would do a reverse T3, which was for the thyroid. Some of those things are kind of rare, so they are probably out there, but it's just kind of finding who, where, and talking and the connections, because it's sometimes clients bringing in information and telling us, wow, I went to this one lab, and I'll say, great, so then I can have that information and pass it along to others. So what I was saying as far as this, there's a lot of foods that can actually help with phase 1, phase 2, and I'm going to go through that, and spices and herbs and whatnot. Foods that are bad that will bring phase 1 down would be things like charred meats, and there's also things like certain medications and antibiotics, and they'll drive phase 1 down. So there's a lot of things that drive phase 1 down and drive phase 1 up too much. But it's typically this phase 2 that we have to worry about, because when these intermediate are formed, like I said, the toxin comes in toxic already, but when it gets to that intermediate, that toxin sometimes is even worse than the original toxin coming in, because it's very volatile. It hasn't been packaged up yet appropriately to get out of the system. So that's why I'm going to go over certain things that are going to help you with phase 1, phase 2. So phase 2, as we said, highly dependent on adequate dietary protein. And phase 2 are found in a lot of fruits and vegetables and spices and herbs. Some of these different nutrients for detoxification, things like magnesium, are very important to help in all the enzymatic processes in the body. A lot of people are deficient, and soils are very deficient in magnesium. Copper, zinc, vitamin C, vitamin B, as you saw from there, a lot of those are dependent in the phase 1, phase 2, mostly phase 1. NAC, which was in phase 2, glutathione in both phase 1 and 2, proteins, both phase 1 and phase 2. So foods for detoxification that help with both phase 1, phase 2 to upregulate them, to make them both work better, would be the cruciferous vegetables. So we're talking about broccoli, cabbage, bok choy, arugula, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts. Very important. Unless you have a thyroid issue, if you are hypothyroid, you don't have a lot of those in excess, because that will drive it down too much in the raw state. So that moderation. But that's the only time that I can think of that you would want to not have too many of those. The limonene-containing fruits, so oranges, tangerine, lemon, not grapefruit, because that actually has an enzyme that inhibits the liver to appropriately toxify. Did you have a question?
Where does lime fit? Is it the same as lemon, or?
Yeah, it would fit in there with the, yep. And a lot of people tell me how they would do hot lemon water in the morning. And it is involved in some of the... No, they do...
For some reason, the body appears to make lemon and lime into citrates instead of citric acid.
Right. It does. I'm sorry.
Once it's absorbed into the body, somehow the digestive system makes them into the citrate salts instead of the citric acid.
Right. How many times have you guys heard about turmeric lately? Huge in the news, all over the place. How important it is for anti-this, anti-that, and help with inflammation. This is a big one, and definitely. So go curry, go all those spice. I love them. Sulfur-containing foods. That's the methyl and the sulfur going on in the liver for phase 2. So egg yolks, onions, garlic, beets. Both phase 1, phase 2, very big. I know one woman came in and she was telling me about her aunt who was having a huge issue with her liver, almost on death's door bed, and she was just pounding beets and actually regenerated and lived for another 20 some odd years. So that's all she was doing was beets, and beets with the iron and everything else that's in beets. Herbal detox, so milk thistle protects the liver and enhances detoxification. This one is widely used in a lot of different a lot of different kits that we have, or just by itself. It's heavily studied with cirrhosis of the liver, alcohol-related liver disease, hepatitis, and I can't remember. There's a few other things. They actually use milk thistle in the emergency rooms over in Europe when someone may have gotten exposed to death cap mushrooms, or I worked for Nature's Way for a while, the supplement company, and out in Utah where Robert Redford had a bunch of horses, and they got exposed to something in the fields, and they created a slurry of milk thistle and just put it right down their throats, and they saved 3. That I think they lost 3, but they saved 3 because it goes right into the liver and it gets right into the cells and protects, and it doesn't allow the toxins to get in there and start necrotizing and killing off the liver cells. It actually helps to regenerate the liver, they've seen too. This is heavily studied, so that's a great one. Rosemary and green tea. Green tea is just goes on and on what green tea is good for. There's also in the liver, there is glutathione, which is a powerful detoxifier, like I told you, that we make. And then there's the toxins coming in. Well, they don't just bind together. There's a glutathione transferase, which is an enzyme that binds them together. So things that would increase that glutathione transferase are rosemary, green tea, and turmeric. Because those toxins won't always attach to this. You could have tons of toxins and tons of glutathione, but unless you have that glutathione transferase to bind them, to excrete them out, it won't happen. So that's why, like I said, rosemary, green tea, and turmeric are found to be very beneficial for increasing that glutathione transferase. So, if you have never cleansed before, slowly tiptoe into this. Don't do this as something really fast. There has to be some prep work involved, especially if you don't have the best of diets or habits. Consumption of foods like alcohol, saturated fat, sugar, caffeine, you want to go into that slowly to start lessening withdrawal, especially a lot of people for the caffeine aspect mostly. And then I have to tell you, if you start lowering your carbohydrates, I've been through that too, where you get a headache and you get irritable and you just kind of get foggy brain. So when you're coming down off of those things, just give yourself a while, maybe a couple weeks or a month prep work. It's usually recommended at the start of each season, so generally we say spring and fall, though some other people who do juice cleanses maybe do a 2 or 3 juice cleanse once a month. Everybody's got their own routine, but this is typically what they recommend. So this is a great time right now, basically, to be starting. In the winter, it's tougher because you're in the winter, you're more in a protective state, and so you don't want to start lowering and exposing your body to some issues because you're already exposed to a lot of different colds and flus and whatnot coming around. And sometimes in this detoxification, sometimes, depending on how quickly you do it, how intense you do it, you could feel a little bit as far as the side effects, as far as maybe a flu-ish feeling. I've done it and I never have, but some people have, and it depends on how much you have in you as far as toxins and where your own immune system is how you're going to react to it. And that's why I'm going to go through each of these as some different suggestions to go towards. But Everybody's going to react differently. There's cautions. Do not stop any medications. Ask about interactions. I have the program, we have the program out there at the vitamin desk where if you come up and say you're on a certain amount of meds, we can look it up and to see what interactions there may be, and it gives us the studies to refer to see if it really is something we need to flag or if it's just a theoretical interaction. Fiber binds medications, okay? So you have to know that. You don't want to have typically in a bunch of these, you're going to be taking something in the morning and the evening, and there's fiber within each. So if you're taking a medication, you want to take it a couple of hours before or after. So it does. Typically before would be better. So it doesn't bind it up because it would make it less effective on you, and you don't want that. Fasting, you want to watch for certain medical conditions. If you have diabetes or blood sugar issues, hypoglycemia, you really want to be careful on that. You don't want to be doing a lot of fasting for very long, and again, I'll get more into that as far as how to go about that. But you want to watch that. Also, anybody with liver or gallstones or kidney issues really want to be careful because a lot of these have things to stimulate those. As we said, those are your major detox organs, so you really want to be careful. While cleansing, you want to avoid a lot of these things that are up there, such as the trans fats, partially hydrogenated fats, artificial colors, flavors, sweeteners, preservatives, hormones in meat and dairy. Limit your white, refined sugar and flour products. Limit alcohol and caffeine. I mean, if you can't avoid them completely, you really want to significantly limit them. And why would you want to do that? Because you don't want to put more of a burden already in your body because you're trying to excrete out what's going on. So as you're trying to clean out, you're then just, what are you doing? You're wiping it, you're putting it right back in. So there's no purpose of that. You really want to be as clean as possible and then excrete out what's already built up in those fat cells and in the liver. That's what you're trying to do, is get those out. So also to include while you're cleansing, high fiber foods like oatmeal, oat bran, brown rice, chia, ground flax seeds, the beans, lentils, peas, vegetables. They help with cleaning out the liver, and that also picks up the cholesterol and it binds up the toxins. So in these you'll find a lot of them have a fiber component in there. Drink 8-ounce filtered water a day, and green tea again helps with alkalizing the antioxidants and helps with the glutathione transferase we were talking about. So water, again, very important. Our body is made of 70% mineral water. So if you want to, some people add trace minerals to their water or they drink the mineral water. Very important for detoxifying. Helps prevent muscle and joint pain, bloating, constipation. A lot of people that don't realize it, headaches, linking that back to not having enough fluid, and especially water. And it maintains a healthy skin, again, because that's your detox. A lot of women that I see more so, I've seen a few men in with acne issues, but it goes back to the hormones. If you cannot properly get excreted out through the liver, then into the bile and feces or from the kidneys, urine out, it's going to come out in your skin. So you're going to see this disruptions, whether they're rashes, whether it's dry skin, whether it's acne or whatnot. It's because the body is trying to purge it out some way. So other ways, other things that you want to try to do while you're cleansing, exercise, but you want to keep that minimal because, again, you're going to be changing around a lot of dietary habits. You don't want it to be extremely excessive. You can do things like yogas or Tai Chi or walking, swimming, but hopefully not in chlorine because that's a toxin. You want to limit that. So there are a lot of different things. You can do Pilates, a lot of things. But you want to keep it not extremely strenuous. Lymph drainage, that's also important too because your lymph system, very important. It's the garbage collector unit in your body. And in your intestines, it's called GALT, which is gut-associated lymphoid tissue. That's found in the intestines. So that also is that's associated with that immune system in your gut. So the lymph is very important. And has anybody done dry brushing? So you start down at the fingertips, slow brushes, work your way up. Everything's up towards the heart because the main drainage unit goes through here. Has anybody had lymph drainage, gone to someone and had a manual lymph drainage? Well, I went one time because we had someone come and talk. She was a nurse, and she's the only one that I know around that actually does it. She left nursing and went into this as her practice, so she travels all over doing this for women and all different disorders and whatnot, women that have had lymph nodes removed, that have a lot of the edema associated. But so I laid there and I thought, well, all right, so this is going to be sort of like a massage, right? But it wasn't. Actually, she found different points. Like, she pushed very gently, just little bits in certain key areas. And I remember I was laying there and I thought, oh, it's doing nothing. And so then I felt this flutter underneath, like in my abdomen. I thought, oh, that's weird. It must have been some gas or something. And I didn't say anything. And she said, and sometimes people actually feel this fluttering on, down through their abdominal cavity. I said, oh my gosh, I just felt that. And I said, I thought it was something else. She said, no, that's actually the lymph draining on through. That's the main cavity through there. And then she did some light pushing somewhere on my calves, and my feet were all on fire because I could feel everything just flowing. Again, it wasn't hard pushing like a massage. It was very light in certain key spots. So then she told me to drink a certain amount of fluids after, and I forget what else, but she said just take it easy. And I thought, wow, this was amazing because I could actually feel it happening to me. So you can have lymph drainage, or you could do something like the dry brushing, which, like I said, you go from fingertips to the heart. You go from the toes upwards, so it's going up to the main cavity to excrete out. The rebounder, that's the small mini trampoline. That actually helps to get the lymph system going. I thought maybe running would do it, or something else, but they said no, it's something about this, the anti-gravity aspect of it helps the lymph system to start with the drainage. So that's another thing that you can do. Okay, so into the cleanses now. So I have some kits up here. I have some juicing I'm going to talk about. The homeopathics, which is another way. The teas, modified citrus pectin, which is a special order. We don't typically have that on hand, but that's another good one, which is for heavy metal cleansing. Chlorophyll, green mung bean soup I'm going to talk a little bit about, and some specialty ones, liver candida, heavy metal, smoking. So cleanse kits. I put up a few things that they have in some of these cleanses, like the oat fibers, artichoke, asparagus, dandelion, parsley, milk thistle. We have a variety of different ones. So and like I said, it can go from 3-day kits to 7-day to 14-day to 30 days, depending on. There's even a Dr. Junger that wrote the Clean Diet. Is anybody familiar with that? I didn't read the book, but I had a client bring it in to me, and I looked it up. And actually, it uses a lot of the stuff that these use. It's protein. You get a kit. It's 21 days, protein, drinks. There's fiber in there. There's probiotics in there. All the same kind of stuff that we have in a lot of these. So it depends on how long you want to do it, how much dedication you want to have. Typically, when they first came out, they were the 14-day one, so it's 2 weeks. And that's what a lot of these are. This one actually is, this one's a 10-day one with things like probiotics. They usually have a 3-part system in here. One is the fiber part to bind the toxins. This one actually has a probiotic, which that's not typical for the ones that I've seen in the past. Then there's the actual detox. Usually there's a detox one with all the different nutrients. Then there's one fiber part to bind the toxins. And then there's some kind of something to help with the movement of the bowels, because you want to make sure prior to and during, you want to make sure that your bowels are moving every day. If you come into this constipated at all, meaning that they're not moving daily, if not once to twice a day, then you want to make sure those bowels are moving first and then moving into this. Because if you're excreting those toxins out and then they're not coming out and they're sitting in the bowels, what happens to them? Reabsorption. Great. We don't want to have that happen. We want to make sure they're eliminating out. So typically there's something like a magnesium blend in there, which that's what this one has. Also has some things for healing, like slippery elm and marshmallow, fenugreek, and some other stuff. And this one actually puts the detox and the movement all in one, and they added probiotics in as their third. So again, they will vary. This has a drinkable fiber. Some have fibers, and all the rest of the products in are pills. This one is a good one. As that one says, it's a whole body. It's not just liver. Yes. You know, it depends on what you think that you can do as far as doing it. And some people think 2 weeks is too long, so that's why they came out with ones that are shorter. They think with the 3 to 7 day ones. So if you want to, you can start out with something like that right off the bat, and then maybe the next time you do it, you could go into a 14 one if you wanted to. It's up to you. I've actually done this one. This was the first one that I did, and these two are what are considered whole body cleanses. So it targets the liver, the lymph, the gallbladder, the bloodstream, skin, and urinary tract. So all the major detoxification organs. And this is in that 3-part also. It's got the whole body detox with all of these things for the urinary tract, and such as cranberry and asparagus and parsley, and the lymph, blood, skin. It has burdock and red clover and cleavers, and all of them have their specific things that they do, reasons why they chose them. In phase 2 is a 6-fiber blend to bind the toxins, and phase 3 is what they call their mineral sweep. So that has magnesium, peppermint, ginger, fennel, marshmallow, and some other stuff in here. This one is Thistlein Mineral Cleanse. And this is a very gentle one. This is probably, I'd have to say, the most popular one. Carol and I recommend this one all the time. I didn't really feel anything wow after I was done with it, but I didn't go into feeling anything. I just knew that I wanted to reset, and if there is anything in there, I'd like to try to work things out and have things work more efficiently. And I've actually done this whole body cleanse from this company too, which I did the 14-day one, not the 10-day. That's a newer one. Like I said, there's a whole variety out there, and we can talk to you, myself, or any of the staff out there, talk to you more about what would be better for you. This is a 7-day one, and this has steps for days 1 through 4 and 5 through 7. As I said, in this one, you're taking certain things in the morning and the evening. So again, if you're taking medications, you have to be careful and that you don't have those around the time of fiber. This is one that we keep this one in the back. This one is more specific. It has no herbs in there. It's one that goes along with a product guide here that tells you a lot of stuff that is needed for detoxification, and then it actually tells you what to do days 1 through 4, 5 through 7, and also foods to eliminate and add in, sample menus for those days. Now, I think this one goes at a little too fast as far as the build-up process, because I tend to take things on the slower end. Even when I did that one kit, the Thistlein cleanse, I didn't do it 14 days. I think I did it, I extended it out to maybe 3 weeks or a month, because I sort of went into it slower. And I actually, with that extra fiber, because I don't think I offset with enough water, it was binding me up and constipating me, so I decreased the fiber amount in there for myself and got regulated from there. So again, not everybody's different. You're going to have to see how it is for you. This one is one that we use for a lot of people that maybe they're on a lot of medications and they can't be on herbs. So it's basically just vitamins and minerals, other things like NAC that we saw in there, glutathione is in there. There is green tea. There's a lot of amino acids in here too. So this one's runs about $40 for a whole month that you do the cleanse. So this is a very nice one. But like I said, I would slow it down from what it says in the brochure there. Like I said, out there we have a lot more and different variations, but like you could talk to me or anybody else out there if you have questions on which ones. As I said, you can just start with something like the 3 to 7 day one for your first time, and the next time round you could maybe work yourself into the 14-day one. Depends on what you want to dedicate, how much time, because you are going into it with dietary and other changes too. Yes.
So if you're taking a number of supplements and vitamins, should you stop that?
No, you should not stop that. With that thorn one, that one has a lot of vitamins and minerals. You wouldn't have to take your others with that one, depending on what you have as your background and what you need to be taking supplementally-wise, health-wise. The other ones don't have that, so I would still keep taking my regular multivitamin and oils and probiotics and things like that. Any more questions on this one? Okay. So, as I said, there are specific ones now. A lot of people come in and they say, I want to cleanse my intestines. And I said, well, yeah, a lot of your immune system is there, but there's a whole host of other stuff that we need. That's why I typically have people go towards the whole body cleanses, the ones that say whole body on there, versus just specifics. Now, I get into specifics if they come in with specific issues that they're trying to deal with. So there's specific ones that are, where is it? I didn't grab a liver one, but there's ones out there that say liver. There are ones, as I said, for heavy metals. So I've had some people come in, one woman in particular who lives out in lived out in Colorado, so she was really exposed to the complementary and alternative practitioners, so they would run all sorts of tests for her and her children that were having issues. She found out that they were high in a certain amount of heavy metals, so she did a lot of chelating with them. And you can do that with modified citrus pectin or things like this, which is apple pectin in here, broccoli, cilantro, milk thistle, spirulina. So things like this. If you're doing a heavy-duty chelation, that's something that has to be under the guise of an alternative MD or an ND or a DO, somebody who's going to be checking the minerals that are going to be pulled out, because typically you have to add in a lot more minerals because these can pull the minerals. So something like this, just as long as you're taking your regular multivitamin, would be okay. But if it's a heavier duty one, then that one you have to be under, like I said, a doctor's guise. So the smoking, there's smoking ones. This is a smoker's cleanse, and this one has, again, 3 parts. First one is dealing with the detoxification of getting the smoke through the liver and out of the organs. There's the second part of it, which actually helps out with giving amino acids and tyrosine and glutamine to help with the blood sugar changes from smoking and the withdrawal and the anxiety feelings that you could possibly get. And then there's also another part that also helps out with the anxiety. There's 5-HTP and chamomile and other stuff like that in there. So this is one where you're already on the path. You want to stop smoking. You definitely know that this is just something that's going to give you that extra of trying to get it out of your system. If that is the case, too, we have other homeopathics that I've had great feedback on that actually has a homeopathic amount of nicotinum in there that helps with the cravings. But as I've talked to a lot of people with stopping smoking, either you're committed and you just stop, or you go through something like this, but you actually have to be in the mindset already that, you know, this is not going to be magically saying, oh, it's not like a patch and putting it on and saying that's going to help with all the cravings. That is going to definitely help along the way. But that's specifically for, like I said, excreting out those heavy metals out of the system. Candida. Now, how many of you are familiar with the term candida? A handful of you or so? Okay. So I was talking on that one section about the microbial toxins in the body and how I said it can be upset from taking a lot of antibiotics or a lot of steroids that can upset the flora in your intestines. Well, this is what candida is, one of those yeasts that live in our system. There's, I don't know how many different strains of it out there, but that's something that we have to get regulated, and I usually work along with people over usually a 3-month span of trying to change their diet around having not a lot of sugars and yeast, and mostly sugars, I'd have to say, in their diet. And then we would add in probiotics, the beneficial bacteria, to replete those back in, and then we would start killing down as well as healing up the gut lining. So there's different processes I go through, and I lay it all out, and I work along with you with that. And there are these kits that you can do. These are some of the products, Candidase and Candizyme. These are enzymes that break down the Candida cell wall for your own body's macrophages, the cleanup crew, to come and excrete them out. There's also this homeopathic called Candida that has, I think, 9 different strains of Candida and other things, and this works very well too. Usually for every month I change around the product to try to help to excrete that out of the system gently, and because a lot of times they can get sly to the ways, so that's why we're always changing the products too. Again, if you're interested in that, that's something that you could set up an appointment with me and I can go over that, or any of this too, if you want to go further into it. Parasites. Has anybody done a parasite cleanse? Yeah. Has anybody done it without really knowing what they were doing? Like me? One time I had this kit in particular, and I remember I was in grad school, and I don't know why I did this. I think I saw someone that talked about parasites and said if you have any animals around, or if you clean up after animals, well, hello, I grew up in a dairy farm, and I was always taking care of that and animals and dealing with stuff, and had animals in the house, and so they said anyone with that kind of situation, you're probably going to have some kind of parasites. I thought, all right, well, I'm going to deal with this. So I took this full strength, right off the bat. And by day 4, I remember standing there at in the SU commissary with one of my it was one of my internship parts, and I just went, and I got this red wave flushing coming up and down, and it was just going all over. And I had to just whoop right to the bathroom. And for 2 days, I had these horrific, felt like my insides were just ripping out of me. It was really, really bad, really bad. Well, then after I open up the instructions, and it says, if you've never done this before, don't do it full strength. And if you get any of those feelings of diarrhea or pain in the abdomen or whatnot, discontinue. So I immediately, after the 4th day of being on it, just discontinued it. And it took me a good, probably about 4 or 5 years or more before I ever wanted to go towards another one of these cleanses, which I did do. I did another one that was a wormwood and black walnut wormwood and, thank you, cloves combination in tinctures, and I did it very gently. I titrated it in slowly, and I felt nothing like I did when I did this. Now, I'm not saying this product is going to do that to you, but do not do these kind of things which have very harsh herbs in here. Don't do them full strength. You wean your way into it, and that's the same for any of these things too, because I've had some people that, one woman that actually had long story short, she had an injection of a cortisone injection, and it hit into her bloodstream, and it just went with her brain, caused seizures, all of a sudden fibromyalgia. I mean, this woman would run 10 miles a day, and she said I was a type AAA personality, and it just floored her. It just took everything out of her. And so I have to work very, 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 very slowly with people like that, or people with sensitivities, and changing only one thing at a time. And typically I use homeopathics because they're very gentle and the body works with healing slowly. And I changed magnesium from a magnesium malate form to a magnesium taurate form for the seizures of the brain. Taurine is better. And actually, she came in, and within a couple of weeks, she was floored. She said, I had to get off of that because it was the one change she made, and then she had to slowly work her way back into feeling okay, for her okay at that point. And then we went back into working on some other homeopathic. So my point of that story is that everybody's level is different. And if you are very chronically dealing with fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, or any kind of really extreme issue, you want to work very slowly, very gently on these things because you don't know how you're going to react. And if you are making changes, just make one change at a time. You don't want to just start doing all these things because you're not going to know what you're reacting to. So that may happen or may not happen with these cleanses. Now, when I told you I did the whole body cleanses, I didn't really experience anything like that. The parasite one, yeah, that's got a lot harsher herbs in there that can really do a number on you if you're not careful. So you wean that one in. Read the directions. And then if in doubt, you can always call me or any of the other vitamin staff and ask them, you know, any feedback on these? Or so these are some of the ones that we have out there that are the specialty ones. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you can be tested. Again, does that lab test for anything like parasites? Or I had one time. What was that? The CDSA? Oh yeah, Sherry Rogers. Woo! Yeah, well, I actually had where my dog got it at what's that called? Muskrat in the back of when I was away, and just I used all the natural things to try to deal with it, thinking, okay, it's going to be fine. Then one day I walk in and just it didn't take care of it. Somebody vomited up these worms, and I said, oh gosh. So I just kind of freaked out at that point, and I did for the whole family the whole black walnut, clove, and wormwood remedy, because as I said, they say if you have been around animals sleep in your bed, you're pretty much assuming that you have some kind of parasite in there. So to do that, maybe once a year. Yeah, they can do, like I said, with my doctor, well, I didn't tell you this part, but I did take stool samples from myself, my husband, and my daughter and it didn't show up anything, but I don't know if the whole extreme of what they tested. So I said, I'm just going to do this whole protocol for all of us. So I did that just to be safe, and just knowing that I have animals and I'm cleaning up after them all the time, I try to do something like that at least once a year. Oh yeah, believe me. Yep, I know. So, yeah, it'd be safe to assume that you probably do have something. Nothing that's like going to a different country and having a tapeworm or anything like that. But I mean, there's probably some kind of honey. Like you can do something like enough once a year. Very so homeopathics out there. There's Newton has the number one that comes in drops, little pellet, and take that. There's also specifics from King and household detox. So if that's sick, reacting to, there's a lymph. There's I think there. So those are things that are very, very gentle in the system. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't think that they would know. They probably have different things, and your body does detoxify overnight. So that's really important to get enough sleep, as I talk about in one of my slides, because you are detoxifying throughout the night and repairing and whatnot. So it's a good time to take time at nighttime. Yeah. Yep. I don't see any reason for any interaction on that. I would say that they would just help assist each other. So, chlorophyll is another one that's found in chlorella, spirulina, wheatgrass. I have some of these up here that they're very important for the cleansing of the bloodstream. Okay, the molecular structure of chlorophyll resembles that of hemoglobin. which is the oxygen-carrying protein of the red blood cells, and the metallic atom in the middle of each molecule is hemoglobin is iron, and then in the chlorophyll magnesium. So, as I said, magnesium, that's a big detoxifier. Helps 325 different enzymatic processes in the body, and so it's very deficient in soils. As I said, that's a big one. You have to be careful with magnesium. Too much of it will cause the bowels to move too much. Everybody, again, has their own set point of what they can tolerate on that. Modified citrus pectin that I mentioned, this is a form of pectin that has been altered by pH and temperature to break the polysaccharides, which is many chains of sugars, to smaller soluble fiber, so they can get easier absorbed into the system. It's found in most plants, particularly in apples, citrus, and plums, and it's actually reduced in its molecular structure, as I said, to get into the cells better. That one is one that's more specific for heavy metals. There's also the apple pectin that we have out there, and I've seen studies that they used in Chernobyl. People had the radiation exposure from Chernobyl. They gave them a lot of apple pectin, and it bound up that the exposure, and it excreted out of the system of any of the radiation. So an organic apple a day keeps the doctor away. Okay? Organic. Because it's one of the top 5 pesticide-laden. Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah, you get the pectin, but still, there's benefits. Yeah, yep, exactly. Is there? Someone told me, yeah, someone was asking me where there was one. I said, I didn't know. I know that at, oh.
Last year I missed them. They had already picked everything.
Oh.
I believe it's this organic apple farm. Now, somewhere, I don't know if the address is being sold to Scott Paul.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Because I know that Beacon Skiff has a tiny little place that's, I think, smaller than this that has their organic, but I don't think that they are selling those. I don't know if it's something that they're just starting to look at or how they're dealing with it. But people tend to think that you can wash off those pesticides. Do you think you can wash them off? Okay, they soak through right into the skins, so you right throughout the whole growing process. So you can't wash them off. They're in there. No, it's throughout. Yep. Yeah, they start spraying them right away, so it's just continuous throughout. And I have a slide, I think, in here that I talk about apples a little bit more. Teas. Let me just get a time check on how we're doing with time. 6. Okay. So teas, there's a lot of different teas. I've never tried the teas as far as dealing with a detox, but they do have some of these. There's a peach detox, and there's this daily one. There's this cleanse and detox. All of these things that are relating to detox have the same stipulations of being careful with medications and health issues that you have. You have to make sure that they're all going to be okay with what you've got going on as far as health issues and medications. Juice fasting. People have done these for a lot longer. I don't know if you've seen that one guy from Australia that did it for 60 days or so. It was sick, fat, and some documentary that followed him around, and then, yes, thank you, fat, sick, and nearly dead. That's what it was. And so he started doing this under a doctor's care because he was on certain medications and whatnot. I think he started because he had a unknown origin of some skin rashing all over his body, and they couldn't figure out what it was, and they were putting him on med after med after med, and so he did that. But typically we say about 2 days would be really good over a weekend to do something like that. You have to be careful, again, blood sugar and medications, okay? If something says you have to have it with a meal, these aren't meals. So you maybe want to give your GI tract a little bit of rest have something in the morning, and the rest of the day have something like the juicing. So keep it light fare. Some people do the green mung bean soup. Has anybody heard of that with Dr. Steve Wexler's soup that he has? I'll give you a little bit of information. I've got his recipe, and we carry it here that I can hand out to you. But it's green mung bean soup, and what it has in there is Ayurvedic properties and different spices, and that's how it helps with the detox. But you can prepare the fast for eating some raw fruits and veggies for a few days or a day before. Also, is really good. We were talking about the lemon in water. Also, apples, beets, cabbage, kale, carrot, celery, parsley, green drinks, very good. The first meals after a 2-day juice fast should be small and frequent because you're then getting your bowels back into working with foods, not just liquids. And that's where the soup would come into play. There's this book, which is really good, and we carry it, and if we don't have it here now, you could order it. We typically have this in stock, the juicing book. I like it because it tells you how to deal with the juicing. It says, for instance, when you look up buckwheat green juice or beets, it tells you how to select it, what conditions it's good for, and then you can go to the back and it gives you recipes, as well as there's a table you can look up where it says, oh, if you have issues with sore throats, lemon and lime is recommended. Or if you have ulcers, papaya. Or if you have varicose veins, grapefruit. And it goes through all of them. Liver disorders, apple, grapefruit, grape, lemon, lime, orange, papaya, pear. So it gives you that, as well as when you look up those different foods like cabbage, it tells you per gram of protein, how much fat, carb, calcium, vitamin A. Some people are curious if they're getting enough nutrients in. We also, at our juice timeout cafe, we have things that will help with the detox. There's the CNY Yogi, which has celery, apple, parsley, kale, lemon. That's a great one. There's the Popeyes Punch with the spinach, lime, cilantro, and a little pineapple. There's the blue-green elixir, grapefruit, blue-green algae in there. Then there's the transfusion. That one's great. Pineapple, beet, apple, ginger. Has anybody tried any of these? Wow. The yogi. I've tried a few different ones. I've tried Popeyes Punch, I really like. I've tried the transfusion, which I think is phenomenal. And I think I've had the refresh, which was good. Then we also have wheatgrass shots, beet shots, ginger. So there's a lot of good options out there. But if you want to do it yourself, like I said, there's the juicing books to help guide you. But that's not a bad thing to do. Actually, I'm going to look into that. It's just preparing and having the right stuff on hand and the right machines and all that. So it takes, I've never done one, but I'd like to do that for a weekend. That would be a feat for me because I'm eating every 2 or 3 hours. So I'll let you know how that works out. The green mung bean soup. So that is one that, as I said, I'll just read to you a little bit what it says. Benefits in Ayurveda, which is Ayurvedic medicine that they use in India and other countries. The mung bean soup has a magical and powerful effect. It helps to balance all 3 doshas. Its spices are part of the medicinal quality of this delicious and nourishing soup. When combined with certain sharp and penetrating herbs, the blocks created by which are toxic mucus that lodges in the body over time due to poor diet, lack of exercise, and wrong lifestyle. The blocks are broken and flushed out of the body. In the same way that a gun is able to shoot through objects and break them, some herbs and spices have this effect, especially when combined with mung bean. So it tells you how to prepare it and keep it on hand. I know Carol's done this herself after doing cleansing, or actually she's used this for the whole day of eating that as the cleansing, and that's how they recommend on here too. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that we have these on file out at the vitamin desk, because that's where I got my initial one, so you could ask them about that. But this is something that Steve Wexler, who is a chiropractor, that's one of his that he uses and put together. He is local. He's down. Is he downtown still? In the Valley area? Yeah. Yep. Thank you. Okay, additional ways you can cleanse. There's the far infrared sauna. I know there are some of these around. Some specific gyms have them. I know Lolaine, who's an acupuncturist at their place, Kelly's Massage Center in Manlius, has them. And you can go in there for a 15-minute stint, and that's probably all they recommend. But this helps with the energy for detoxification. There's also the Epsom salts baths, which, as I said, the detoxifying through the skin as well. There's the detox foot baths. That's not exactly what that looks like, but has anybody ever done those where you put your feet in the water? Yeah. Right. I don't know as far as how to buy them for yourself. I've gone to someone that works with a chiropractor in Jamesville. She comes to town every, one time a month, and I went to see her, and it starts out basically with the water, and then they put in some sort of the salt solution, so it's a carrier, and you actually see over that whole half hour all this gunk. The water turns from clear to disgusting. And they will measure all the different colors. If there's flecks, that's heavy metals. If there's green, if there's yellow, if there's orange, all the different things mean different things as it's pulled out of the body. And this was a woman, and I forget her first name, but she's with Ralph Cratulis's practice in, thank you. No, does she do that? There's a woman there, yeah, in that same building, and I don't know her name. What's that? John Skinner? Okay, there's another, and he's a what? He's an ND? Okay, and where's he? Sacred Melody Plaza, is that? Oh, okay. He does that? Okay, so there's a few different. Oh, okay, Dr. Kate Laska in Mattydale does it as well. So they say about 60% of the stuff coming out of you is what the colors are, and the other, well, it's about 60%-ish, 60 to 70, and then the rest of it is what's actually the impurities that were originally in the water, and they are the ones that actually know how to read it and tell you what all this is and what you need to be working on. But it's very interesting. And also they say when you want to calm down or to get yourself grounded, to go out and walk in grass because it grounds you and roots into the soil, as well as if you want to calm down, you could put lavender on your feet and it gets absorbed very quickly into the system. So you think about the major areas that smell, which is our perspiration, detoxing, so it's under the arms and the feet. These are areas that absorb in a lot of things as well. So those are major areas that we want to really make sure that I had one woman that doesn't perspire. I said, well, there's something going on because if you're not perspiring, you're not excreting out a lot of your toxins there. And it was some endocrine disorder issue that she had going on. Earwax for the ear candling type of? Really? For that... Yeah, especially there's something going on that side of the body where I don't know what. More specifically, he could maybe talk to an acupuncturist and they could work on and find out what's going on, if there's some other underlying issue. I don't know if the sauna would work for that to help for detoxifying because it's going to do everything. Is he probably to the drops too, garlic and mullein, any of those stuff that it might be an issue. But those might be a few things that he could look into. Yep. You can do Epsom salt baths for sure. Oh, and I forgot to mention, we also have these, which are the Dead Sea salts, which are like that as well, except I've heard some people say with the Epsom salts it's kind of drying, whereas these don't dry the skin. These are for bath, yeah. So you would do it, it says on there no more than 20 minutes to soak in it. So, it's just, I think it's just a regular, just salt. Some sort of just regular salt. What's that? But there's a current that runs through there that does some, like how the infrared sauna, there's just the heat wave currents that will do it, and this has that as also as the salt in the water is the conduct. So I'm not sure, like you were saying, there's a lot of them on there that you can buy, but I would talk to the people, the practitioners that have them before I would just go buy something like that. Yeah. Who's that? Howard? Oh, okay. Another one. Oh. Okay, cool. Oh, good. See, that's what I mean, feedback. Now I'm learning about different places that there are around. So let me do a time check here before. This is just some general stuff. This isn't really going to take me very long. This is just, on top of the fact of detoxifying, you need your basics. Okay, this is a constant that you need. Your balanced eating, regular activity, supplementation, stress management, and sleep. Again, I talked a little bit about why we need supplementation. The soils are depleted. Usually nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium are added. Not a lot of soil rotation now with these big crops that they have out there, the farmers that have the huge multi-whatever companies. The ones that are more organic now, they replete it with other stuff in the soils. So we're coming into it with a deficiency with those minerals that help with detoxify the body. This is a Rutgers study that they looked at comparing the minerals from a conventional versus organically grown. And you can see, say for instance, when you're looking at snap peas, the calcium 40.5 versus 15.5, and that is expressed in milligrams per 100 grams of how they measured it. So, I mean, big differences. Magnesium in the spinach, 203 versus 46. So there's yeah. A big thing was the pesticides too, and they were finding some certain. Yeah, they took all these different studies. That came out after I had done all this, put this on here. But yeah, that just came out, and they were saying how there's no differences other than mostly the pesticides. They were finding that there was a difference in that. They did find, I think, vitamin C and some other minerals that were differences, but they weren't saying that they were big differences. Right. Who? Right. Well, it's like when the vitamin E scare came out and that whole, like, don't take vitamin E anymore. It was actually a meta-analysis. They took all the 95 different studies out there, and, hang on one sec, and they were looking at some of the ones that were using synthetic vitamin E, some of them that they were giving to people that would never have benefited from that vitamin E, that were just nearly dead. And so they looked at all these different things, and they said, well, in general, not good for you, you shouldn't be taking this. But what I think the good that came out of that was they said, well, you really need to be taking the mixed tocopherol, which is the whole part of the vitamin E, so the alpha, beta, delta, gamma. You're not just taking just the alpha, which your body predominantly has, but they found when you're taking too much of the alpha that it was down-regulating the gamma, which they found was very cancer protective. And so you need to have that balance. Like in everything, you need to have balance as much as possible. Yes?
Yes. You must be familiar with Dr. Terry Rogers.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, she wrote in her book, The High Blood Pressure Hoax, that if one is to take the complete vitamin E during radiation treatment,
mm-hmm.
This causes a greater an increase in apoptosis, the death of the cancer cells, and protects the healthy cells.
Mm-hmm.
I had radiation treatment for esophageal cancer.
Mm-hmm.
That turned out very well. I was taking vitamin E complete vitamin E for prostate protection.
Mm-hmm.
Yet,
that helped you.
I got lucky, and that helped
with the protection of the radiation and the chemo.
Dr. Meyer of the Albany VA, where I got my radiation treatment,
great. Excellent. Yeah, Sherry Rogers' books are great. They're scary in some ways. She's very extreme. I mean, I've seen some of her videos on detoxifying, but it's good stuff, though. Very good stuff, and she knows her stuff. So thank you for that, and I'm glad you're doing well. So this is more of that. So basically, they were saying there were huge differences. In this latest one, it was saying that not so much when they looked at all variety of differences, but look at the fact that they came out of it with there were some small differences, and the biggest thing is the pesticides, which are disruptors of the entire immune system, right? They are one of the worst things that will disrupt the immune system.
They weren't doing any investigation, they were just comparing studies.
Right, they were comparing studies. So who, like you said, who did all those studies? You got to look at how many people were in them, who backed them. What they were actually looking at as variables was a double-blind, placebo-controlled. I had a whole course in grad school that picked apart studies to make them, oh yeah, that could work, that could look good. But, you know, so it's really, thank you. You have to really be careful with this stuff. So, yeah, exactly. So another reason to eat organic. They were looking for reasons why there were more allergies out there. And this team looked at the apples, and they looked at ones that were pesticide-laden and ones that were organic. And they found out there's this major allergen in apples called MALD1. And actually, it's produced in response by the plants to one or more sources of stress. So that could be stress from sunlight, that could be stress from a microbe trying to eat it. So that's also what happens in us. I have to backtrack. That's also what happens with antioxidants. Those are formed within the fruits and vegetables to protect itself, and then when we eat them, they are the antioxidants within us to protect us. So they found that organically grown apples had 2 to 6 times lower levels of this MALD1 allergen out of the 4 tests. So they speculated that the pesticides applied to the conventionally grown apples were to some degree phytotoxic to the trees, imposing stress and triggering the production of the MALD1 allergen in response. Okay, so those are compelling, that it's stressing the apple, creating more allergens in the apple. Now, how many people have you seen that have had allergies to apples? That's like a rare, but who knows, that may be things that are going to start cropping up, that people are going to have reactions because of what they're doing. So we want to have our basic multivitamins, and I'm not going to go through all the different ones out there. There's a whole variety of ones, men's, teens, women's, organic, otherwise. Essential fatty acids, that's another key thing that we should have in our diet. If all of our cells are made of fat, it's a bilipid layer. And as we were talking tonight about the toxins, they are mostly fat soluble. Okay, so we need to make sure that those cells are nice and pliable and fluid versus when you have a lot of trans fats, which if they get in there and they displace the other good fats, that makes the cells harder, crustier, stickier. Nutrients do not flow in and out appropriately. Trans fats, the body doesn't know how to break it down and get it out, so it just is like, well, I'll just put you and store you somewhere because I don't know how to get it out. And they had said, I had heard one time that it took about 7 years to get trans fats out of the body. So you really want to make sure that you displace the negative fats that you would get from frying up something, eating it out, which, you know, you do something like that on occasion. But if it's the norm, I had one guy in who was eating fast food, mostly McDonald's, for about 7 years of his life. And he has rheumatoid arthritis, and he's he's only 42, but I can't even tell you all the things he's got wrong with him. I'm like, you're 42. But he was living on all that stuff for 7 years. Not anymore, but...
did you ever hear of Morgan Spurlock in his documentary?
No.
Super Size Me?
Oh, yes. Yeah. The super...
The horror shows of eating fast food?
Exactly. That was 1 month. He was doing this for 7 years. I can't even imagine what. So,
driving down the road, vomiting out the window.
Oh gosh. So the essential fatty acids are very important. There's all a variety of different ones, and again, if you want to know which ones to take, there's mixed ones with, mostly what we're deficient is the omega-3s, okay? But we usually get 6s, 7s, 9s from the diet, and so we're not usually deficient in those. So we can get a combination of ones, or again, talk to me and I can specify which one would probably be the better one for your situation. Probiotics, again, they detoxify harmful estrogens. They do a lot, help with the immune system in the gut area. Things that will kill this off: too much sugar, white flour, chlorinated water, pesticides, stress, antibiotics, prednisone. So we can get it back in things like kefir and yogurt and kombucha and sauerkraut, but if they're killed off at such a high rate, you really need something more intense versus just those foods. It's not going to replete that fast, so that's where the probiotics would be beneficial. And again, there's a whole variety of different ones of those too, of all different strains, and we can tell you which ones would be the best ones targeted for your situation. They're now, in the past 20 years, the studies on the different strains have come a long way, so we can say, yep, this one's targeted mainly for colon area, and this one, the studies have been done with this mainly for colic and whatnot. And this one is for vaginal infection. So we can target those. A lot of them out there say that, but we could help you further if you have questions. As I was saying, stress plays a big part, and I'm not going to go through the whole cascade of it, but it's a pro-inflammatory cascade of events. Your body excretes out a lot of electrolytes and nutrients and minerals and amino acids at a high rate. Also, there were actually studies done where adrenal hormones decrease the liver's function of appropriately working. Because these hormones, too, are made in the liver and then rebroken back down through the liver, so that's putting an extra burden back on the liver again as you're trying to deal with all the other toxins that are coming at you. So, different stress reduction things that you can do. Deep breathing, very important, too, because that stimulates the lymph system, your garbage collector unit. So, deep breathing, there's a lot of different things that you can do, things for stimulating. I've been to some different seminars where they did some real stimulating ones to energize you and ones that you can do to decrease and to help for getting into sleep mode. Exercise, again, what does that move? Your lymph system. So that helps with circulation, lymph, and you want to do some form of that at least 20 to 30 minutes a day. A variation of some sort of strength training and cardiovascular. Okay, so it's the cardiovascular that's going to do more of the lymph stimulation. So try to do something that you enjoy, because otherwise you won't stick to it. So if someone told me I had to be in a gym and that was it, I wouldn't do it. I like to be outside. So I used to run. I can't anymore because of a knee issue. So now I cycle. So I cycle, and in the winter I snowshoe, and I do a variety of different hiking and other things. So find what you like to do, and then you will stick to it. And it's something that should just be a main part of your everyday. We were meant to move all the time, and now jobs are becoming more and more sedentary. So we need to make the movement. It was harder for me for when I was growing up on the farm, because we were always stacking wood, taking care of the cows, doing some kind of hay, something, so we were always physical. So then when I got into college, I was just like, yeah, what do I do here now? Because I got nothing that I'm really doing. So that's when I had to start adding in formal exercise, and that's when I started doing the running and whatnot. And that was just, for me, that was easy, because I could just put on my shoes and just go anywhere, wherever I was when I was traveling. But not always the case for everybody, so you got to find what's best for you and what you're really going to enjoy doing. Sleeping, as I said, very important for the detox. We detox when we sleep. So 50 to 70% of a million Americans are affected by some kind of sleep disorder. It affects how we look, feel throughout the day. They actually have linked sleep disorders to many chronic diseases like hypertension, heart disease, stroke, depression, diabetes, others. So try to get good quality sleep. Okay, And this is just a few websites that I had on some general. There's a lot of other things out there. Just some movies, some organic sites, some non-GMO, Fair USA, all about water. Grindstone Farm is a local place. It's in Pulaski, and you can get your fruits and vegetables fresh from them. They can send it to a CSA site, and you can either get the box that they send every week, or you can just get the specific items that you want. Eatwild.com is where you can go to that site, and you can click on whatever state you're in, and then it will tell you where all these different farms are out there, and then it'll break down every single farm of where it is in what county, and it will give the specifics of what that farm is actually growing or raising. And then there's the Food Matters, Food Inc., and some of these other shows. Oh, did you want me to go back? Yeah. I'll leave it up there for a minute. I've gone to it, but that's actually a really good site, yeah. I mean, that's got the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 on there, so that's another good yeah, thank you. That's the Environmental Working Group's site. I think it's ewg.org, yeah. That's a good one, too, yeah. There's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of good sites. I could have just gone. What's it called? Silent Spring. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh. Coffee maker. Oh, yeah, because that's all heat. Oh, never even thought of that. Yeah. Because I don't have coffee. I have tea, so I just on the stove with the water. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, and I a long time ago when I learned about the non-stick, that you don't want to have the Teflon, so I got rid of all those, and I have just stainless steel, cast iron. Yeah, my mom had a lot of cast iron growing up too. So yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot that we have to look at nowadays with all the great new, easy things out there. The technology brought along with it. It also brought all the downsides of it too, the chemicals that they have to get rid of and whatnot. So there's also these books. Again, there's just a few. There are so many. There's Sherry Rogers, Detoxify or Die. That's a scary one. Our Toxic World, A Wake-Up Call by Dr. Doris Rapp. The juicing book that I have up here, Clean, Green, and Lean, Dr. Walter Crinian. He's the one that I went to his seminar down in New York City. And I remember just sitting there going, are you kidding me? I mean, you couldn't. He broke down every single toxin of where it's all coming from, and I just sat there and thought, it's just everywhere. So this was a book that he had written about how to detoxify. Yes.
Yeah, when people come to you, like, within the last, say, 5 years or so, what are their biggest complaints? Like, what do they think is being wasted nowadays?
I'd have to say I deal with a lot of candida issues because there's a lot of antibiotic issues, and they don't really, as I'm speaking to them, I go through symptom questionnaires and I ask questions to kind of dig at things, and they don't realize that may be their underlying issue. They just look at it and say, oh, I've got skin issues, and I have a white coating on my tongue, and I sometimes have this itching, and I don't sleep well with, I don't know, there's all different things. And so then I say, okay, well, when I'm looking at all this and what you've had over your lifetime, that's probably what we're going to start with, the underlying issue. A lot of people are dealing with heavy metals, detoxification. Increasing more? I'd have to say maybe increasing more on their awareness of it, with people coming in. I don't think that it's increasing more other than that, than them saying, oh, I read about this, I heard about this, or I went to this doctor, my friend was talking about this. A lot of people off of a lot of the Dr. Oz now, you know, with all of his wonderful stuff, but people would come in and just not, you know, he'd say one thing and they'd come in and, I need this. Well, what's going on here? We need to just find out you, not just this product. Is that for you? Does that help for everybody? Is it going to help for everybody? I don't know. But that's why I sit down and personalize it and try to find out. And that's why I would tailor something for you. But a lot of people come in and I hear a lot of on the floor them saying, I want to do a colon cleanse. Well, yeah, you can cleanse your colon, but there's a whole host of other systems that work along with that. So there's a lot of it is on our end is educating and passing along, and also, like I said, I learned from a lot of other people that have done a lot of their own digging and research. But cleansing's a big thing in general that they come in for. Candida, I've had clients come in that have actually been tested and found that they had candida overgrowth. So they came to me to figure out how to deal with it dietarily and otherwise. Well, there was one woman I knew that was in with an allergist in Oneida with Dr. Gordon. She was a nurse practitioner. You probably know of something, don't you? Do you know of? I can't remember her first name, but as of late, I just found out from a client that someone kind of honed in on that and put a kibosh and said you can't really go forth and just test for that. And I don't know who it was. Okay. Stool samples, exactly. So usually it does. Yeah. Did you say something? Oh. Is that H. pylori or? Yeah, that would be through the. See, there's a lot of different tests that if I haven't come across them or heard about, I don't know. So, but usually it's a stool sample that they test, and I don't know if you can just say to if you have a practitioner that is more complementary integrative, they would say, ooh, yeah, let's test for that. They probably have that already on their radar. But if they don't, then you may have some issues with yeah, exactly. What are you talking about? So, yeah, exactly. Definitely ask. But we also have a list of practitioners that are very open-minded on a variety of different levels that we refer people to for just general or allergists or whatnot that we've gotten through feedback from other clients or from ourselves. So I'd have to say in general, it's just general detoxing is a big question people come in for. Colon, but I think it's a misunderstanding, thinking that the colon is when it's supposed to be more so all of those organs. And candida was the big one, and heavy metal. I'd have to say those are the biggest ones out there that I typically have, and I don't know if it's more that it's ramping up, or I think what it is more of is the awareness of that has been raised on their level from something they went to or heard about or a friend. Yes.
I wish I brought this article with me. Just recently, they had one in the papers about Navy and aeronautical workers that were toxified by dry sweeping the floors of the shops that they worked in.
Oh, sure.
And manufacturing of the aircraft.
Sure.
Because when they dry swept, this mobilized particles, particularly cadmium, into the air, and the victims were breathing it.
Yeah, I'm sure. There's like a lot of things that you don't even realize that people are getting exposed to. I mean, one of the questions I ask when people come in, I say, have you had exposure through your home or work of somehow in the environment? And a lot of people say, oh, no, I don't. There's nothing. And then one woman said, oh yeah, I grew up right around these apple orchards all my life and didn't realize that all the pesticides. Or I had a woman down the road from me who was heavy into helping her husband on the farm, and she was always, everywhere I saw her, she was driving the tractor in a diesel fuel coming out. I mean, I've driven tractors before, and that stuff is just, it's right there all the time at you. And that's the number one of the toxins. And she died of, in her early, it must have been, she was 50-ish, or right into her maybe 60, and she had some really bad cancer, and her husband then died of something too. And I mean, unfortunately, farmers nowadays, with all the stuff versus the farmers when it was my grandparents and great-grandparents, completely different world as far as the chemicals that are out there now. And they're finding in those communities that you think it's like, yeah, these beautiful lands that are just rolling hills and the crops. And now I look around and I go, oh gosh, did they spray up there or not? You know, I'm always thinking about that because it's the exposure and then the groundwater and the runoff and all that. So a lot of them have, there's a lot of deaths that they're noticing. A gentleman just came in the other day and said, we were talking about cancer, and he said, doctor that he dealt with or something, that said the highest occurrences in New York, and I was shocked because I thought it was Manhattan or Long Island or somewhere down near those counties. Well, it was up, yeah, it was way up towards like the Potsdam and those areas up there because of what was it? There was something specific. What it was that there was exposure to, I forget, but he said it was that. Oh, acid rain coming off of the mountains or something along that lines. He said that's the highest occurrences of different cancers, way up north. And I said, oh my gosh, I never would have thought that. So, really? Oh gosh. Yeah. That it's dropping off. Right. Well, the master cleanse? I haven't done that. That's with the lemon and the maple syrup, right? Yeah. I don't know. Personally, you're welcome. Thanks for coming. You're welcome. I have not done that, and I don't know anybody that actually has done that. Are you saying you've done that? The master cleanse?
Say something about the maple syrup and cleansing?
Yeah, have you done that?
A friend of mine had a short booklet.
Yeah, we have.
Cleanser by Stanley Burroughs.
Yep, that's.
Burroughs was, it's spelled like Edgar Rice Burroughs, the Tarzan author.
Mm-hmm.
The man's name is Stanley Burroughs, and he's in Nevada.
Yeah, I've never done it, and I've had some people in hearing that they've done that, but I don't know. I don't know as if that was. And how did you feel? Did you notice any? And that was not eating at all, right?
And then you do a salt kind of.
For electrolytes?
Well, no,
for flushing it out and stuff. I don't know. You can do that.
I don't know if it's any good.
Yeah. There you go. Like you said, I mean, does it? It probably helped because of the lemon and it was apple cider.
It's lemon,
maple syrup,
and
cayenne pepper. Okay. And that's it. Yeah. See, personally, I couldn't do something like that. I mean, kudos to you because I would probably be like, oh, where's the food? I don't, I could do something of a 2-day cleansing, and I know they probably have the maple syrup in there for the blood sugar regulation, and the lemon is probably the major detoxifier in that too for the liver. So I'm not against that at all. Like I said, there's a variety of ones out there that people do. People do juice fast longer than what I would recommend. The apple cider vinegar? Not regular vinegar, because that's very acidic on the body. White vinegar, very acidic. You would want to do apple cider vinegar. Yeah, and your organic. Yeah, you can do that. That will help for detoxifying. That will help for pH balancing. That helps with, gosh, there's books written about that as well as far as how good apple cider vinegar is, and and with honey too. And that, again, a lot of people swear by that to help out for arthritis because it helps with balancing. And honey is very good if it's, especially anybody with allergies, local honey, because that helps with the immune system and it helps with the local allergens. I put it on my dog's food on occasion because he has allergies, and my vet said to do it. So I said, all right, I'll do that. I'll give him some honey. So, yeah. Yeah, and honey and maple syrup, very good too. A lot of, and maple syrup, honey, they both have a lot of nutrients in them as well. Yep. Yep, it does. Cilantro does pull heavy metals, definitely. Yep, and I have it in my salads, and I just love cilantro. And we have it in those juice, one of the juices that we have too. One of those juices that has it in there. What's that? Cilantro's good. Good. Oh, heavy metal toxins, there can be a lot of things. There could be brain fog. If you're tasting if you have some of the metals, what I had was I could taste one of my fillings. I kept saying, I get this metal tasting, and I had I had 8 of those with the silver fillings in there, and I had them taken out. Yeah, I had different quadrants taken at a time. And so, again, it can range on a whole different... I noticed I couldn't taste any more of that breaking down, and I was swallowing it, because people have lethargy. Like I said, people have brain fog. People have brain fog. You can take, yeah. And I didn't get it done in the way that I think maybe Dr. McGrath and some of these others, where they put the dams in specifically so you're not then swallowing any of the stuff. He did put a special, I don't even know what it was, some special thing isolated around those teeth to hopefully make sure nothing got through. But, I mean, I've done some heavy metal cleanses too. I actually have that other one right there to do at home, and I love cilantro. So I just hopefully get enough of that in to start pulling some stuff out. So. I think I would still do it, and then I would definitely do it after. I think it's always good because, for instance, and I don't want to, scare anyone. I was just reading something that someone sent to me about brown rice and how that pulls a lot of arsenic, and they were finding even in organic baby formulas that had brown rice and organic brown rice syrup by including bars I give my daughter. That it was saying that it was higher than in tap water, that it was pulling a lot of that. So we're getting constantly exposed to it. As we try not to, for getting things screened like the fish oils and whatnot. That oh my gosh. Okay. Did you want to go out that way? So anyway, that there's things are screened, but then there's also now people worrying about the radiation that was coming from the Japan and getting into the waters and affecting the water supply and the fishes, and then they don't have radiation that they're screened for in these oils. So the technology has to keep coming and stepping up because of all these things that are man-made that are causing up problems. Pulling a lot of our, I know, throw another thing to worry about because I'm like, brown rice is, well, I still would have brown rice, but this person was celiac and they were having tons of brown rice as their main sourcing for their carbohydrates, breads and whatnot, and she said, what about this? I said, oh gosh, let's try something else, quinoa, some other millet, teff, try to do some other grains, so I was trying to decrease the exposure on that, but I know it kind of goes on and on. I want to stick my head in the sand sometimes. What's that? Mold? Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Mold, exactly. Yep. Well, that's what I was saying. Those were in organics. They were still high in that, so in organic. So, it's hard. So I would say, on the average, I would say to definitely do some kind of a cleansing, whole body cleansing once or twice a year, and then if you have some specifics, like on an occasion, do a parasite cleanse if you have a lot of animal exposure. On an occasion, do a heavy metal cleansing, and if you're questioning on how to deal with that, and that's where you come in and talk to me, and then I can, kind of help you in guidance with that. So. Yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for the info. Enjoy.